Hey there, fabulous. Welcome to Your Marketing Mentor, the entrepreneur podcast where passion meets strategy and authenticity fuels growth. I'm your host, Sherry Sutton, your business growth guide, marketing mentor, and biggest cheerleader on this incredible journey of creating a purposeful and profitable business. Whether you're just starting out or looking to elevate your business to new heights, you're in the right place. With nearly 30 years of experience in strategic omnichannel marketing, I'm here to help you uncover your unique voice, build a profitable business, and make a real impact in the world. In each episode, we'll dive into personalized marketing strategies, authentic content creation, and the complex yet rewarding path of entrepreneurship. Expect practical advice, inspiring stories, and expert interviews, all designed to empower you to show up confidently as the face of your brand. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get ready to create a legacy together, one that not only makes money, but also a difference. You got this, and I'm here to help you every step of the way. All right, let's dive in. Are you one of those people who starts the year off with so much excitement about your goals? You write everything down, you get a brand new notebook and you put everything in it and you've got everything organized and everything's in again, like a special notebook or like a special calendar or something like that. But then you realize that one, you've forgotten all your goals by February. And then you get to October and you're like, oh crap, what did I say I wanted to do this year? And did I get it done? And where did the year go? And oh my gosh, I only have 3 more months. If this sounds familiar, I see you. I did this too for many, many years. And I want today to talk about a system that I learned called the 12-week year. It's this amazing book. And it really taught me a different way of doing planning. And so, spoiler alert, instead of doing it by the year, I do it in quarterly increments. So every 3 months or every 12 weeks. So I'm super excited to share this with you. This is going to be super valuable if you're like me and a multi-passionate entrepreneur who has multiple businesses and who is highly creative and therefore comes up with a gazillion ideas all the time about all the great projects that you could do, but then you find that you never get any of them done. If that sounds familiar, because again, that used to be me too. I see you, and this is the podcast for you. So let's jump in. Okay, so here is, if you can see this, if you're watching on YouTube, if not, I'll just tell you, I've got a slide up of all the different hats that I wear. So I am a podcaster. I run networking groups. I teach courses. I have multiple podcasts, actually. More on that coming soon. I've got a big family. I'm a speaker. I'm a mentor for people one-on-one. I'm a photographer. I'm a videographer. I wear a lot of hats. And so staying consistent and streamlined and focused in with all of that, with all of those different hats, and with all of the creativity that happens in my brain all the time, it can be very challenging. So this is what I did, and this is what revolutionized my thinking, was a book called The 12-Week Year. And I'm getting no kickback from them for this, but I absolutely love this book. I did a mastermind for a couple years around this book, and it was just incredible. It's not happening anymore. I would refer you to it, but it would really, really change my mindset. So I'm going to spend the next couple minutes talking to you about some of the key aspects of the book. I'm not going to go into all of it, but I'm going to share with you the pieces that I took out and how I do my quarterly planning. So the year-long planning cycle just doesn't work anymore. And it hasn't, I don't think, in a long time. I remember when I used to work in corporate, we would, spend months doing quarterly planning. And by April, we would have all forgotten about what we had written and what we had decided we wanted to do. And we weren't tracking any of our metrics. And the reason why is there was no sense of urgency, right? When it's April and you've got till December to get stuff done, there's no sense of urgency. And so doing your goals in 12-week sprints, or kind of 12-week concentrations with just a few select goals, so not a huge long laundry list, really, really massively changed the way that I do business. And I have seen explosive growth as a result. So why 12 weeks? Again, I mentioned that it's about having a sense of urgency. It's about having clarity, and it's about having focus. And if you're anything like me, again, highly creative, probably a little ADHD, it's very difficult for you to stay consistent, focused, have a sense of urgency, and not get pulled off into whatever direction or whatever idea happens that moment. But when I break down my schedule into 12 weeks, I can say, you know what, I'm not going to do that now because I've got a couple of things I'm doing right now, and I'll put that off for next quarter. And we'll talk about that later. But this for me has been the best way for me to have a sense of urgency, to have clarity, and to have focus. The first thing you need in any business, and this is the first thing that I start with anytime I do marketing planning with any of my clients, is what's your emotional connection to your business? Because if you don't have an emotional connection to your business, you'll kind of never have a sense of urgency. If you have goals and you're like, if I meet them, I meet them. If I don't, I don't. Doesn't really matter. That's going to come through, right? That's going to come through in your willingness to do things that you don't want to do. A good part of business is just rinse and repeat. I had a coach who said, it's just doing the laundry. It's not something we enjoy doing. It's not glamorous, but it needs to be done. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And understanding that, but also saying, okay, I have a higher purpose here of what I'm trying to do. The combination of those two things allows me to get through those boring moments of, rinse and repeat, because I know that I have a bigger vision. So I encourage you, if you don't have that now, make sure that you have a big vision for your business, an emotional connection that's going to drive you through those times when your business gets a little boring and you have goals that aren't fun. Because if you're anything, again, like me, man, if you're a creative, you want to just be creating new things all the time, but you'll never actually get any traction unless you do the boring things to get that moving on an ongoing, consistent basis. So this was one of my favorite quotes from the book, and it says, the short-term costs of taking action can seem so much greater than the long-term benefits of reaching the goal. So the short-term costs of taking action can seem so much greater than the long-term benefits of reaching the goal. So what that's saying is, again, back to this idea of you have to have an emotional connection to what you're doing. Because especially if you're only doing yearly goals, then you look at like what you're trying to do by December, and it's hard to connect that with, okay, it's Tuesday at 2:00. What am I doing right now? And if you don't have it broken into smaller chunks, man, that's really, really tough to get your brain around and to take action on. Okay, so here is the first part of the 12-week year method, and it's the planning part. And again, I've taken some liberties in the way that they organize from the book, but this is kind of how I see it, and a reframe of the way that I utilize it. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you want to set 3 or 4 SMART goals for the quarter. We're going to talk about what SMART goals are here in a minute, but you only set 3 or 4. And for me, I break those down even further into types of goals. So I always have one personal goal, because I don't know about you, I can tend to just focus nonstop on my business and completely forget any personal goals. So I always try to have one personal goal. It could be, working out 4 days a week, or, losing a certain amount of weight, or meditating a certain, times a day, that type of thing. So I always have one personal goal. I have one goal that is a business maintenance and optimization goal. So often for me, that looks like provide excellent service to my existing clients, right? So, and because the vast majority of my time, I'm very fortunate, is working with my existing clients. And I don't have a goal in there of making sure I'm spending time for them. When we get further on into this podcast and we're talking about like blocking our time and looking at our calendar, I might end up prioritizing other kind of funner, more sexier projects than what is actually bringing me income right now. So you want to have a goal of focusing on what is bringing you income right now and how can you optimize that so that you're making more money for less time. So the third goal that I do is usually a business growth goal, but within one of my existing offers. So this might be a project like I just launched something last quarter and now I want to grow it. I don't have a whole lot of clients in there right now. I want to grow that. And so, what are the tactics I'm going to take to grow that new program? Then the fourth thing that I set a goal on is a new type of offer or a new type of product. Because I'm a creative. And if you're anything like me, you're going to want to always have a fun, creative project that you're chewing on. If I don't have one of those, I find that I get a little stuck in the mundane. I can't spend all day doing the creative things. I have to focus on optimizing my existing business, right? Growing at programs that I've already launched and focusing on my personal life. But I always like to have every quarter at least one new project that I'm working on that I'm going to launch either in the next quarter or the quarter after that. And that keeps kind of those creative juices flowing for me. So that is my 4 goals generally for every quarter. So a personal goal, a business maintenance goal, a business growth goal, and then a new offer goal. Then what you want to do is you want to determine 3 to 5 tactics that you have to do for each of those goals in order to make them happen. So let's say one of my goals is, meditate 5 days a week. So it could be, then my tactics could be wake up at 6 a.m., listen to, I love mindful meditations, right? Or the mindful movement. I love them. They're on YouTube. The mindful movement meditation and journal, right? Or walk every day or go to yoga. That's another meditative thing for me. So, write down what those tactics might look like and do that for each of your goals. And let's talk a little bit about what SMART goals mean. So SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And this is something you guys can look up more. I'm not going to go into this a ton, but you want to be as specific as you can and you want to make sure it's measurable. So you don't want to be like, grow my business. Like, well, that doesn't say anything, right? Specifically, what part of the business do you want to grow? How big do you want it to be? How many clients do you need in order to meet that number? How many networking meetings do you need to go to in order to meet enough people to close that number of deals that you want, right? So you want to make sure that your goals are specific, measurable. So you can't, like, if you just say, increase my happiness, how are you going to measure happiness? And there may be ways that you can do that, but make sure that you have measurements for each of your goals. Also, make sure they're achievable, right? Let's not like set if you're making $50,000 a year revenue this year, which is great, the idea that you're going to make 7 figures next year could happen, but don't set yourself up for failure, right? Make sure that what you're doing is achievable. Make sure that it's relevant. Make sure it's something that's relevant to your business. This is where having a really strong marketing strategy comes in. You want to understand what your product mix is, what you're working on. Does it tie in with the overarching goal of your business? Are you talking to the same customers with your products? All of those things are really important and things that I work on with my clients when we do their marketing strategy. And then you want to make sure that it's time bound. And that's one of the things that I love about the 12-week year is I get to see progress every single quarter, if not more often than that. Because often if you wait till the end of the year to see if you hit the finish line, again, you've forgotten about it back in April. And then all of a sudden you're in October and you're like, oh crap, I haven't done anything. Oh no. And then you're sprinting to the finish. So having things that are time bound, but in these shorter time frames for me has really helped me to be more successful because I'm able to see progress faster. And I don't know about you, but I need a lot of positive reinforcement. So having shorter time frames really helps me. Okay, so now that you've set your goals and you've determined what the activities need to be or the tactics need to be for each of those goals, the next thing you need to do is execute. So, the first thing you want to do is track the time that you're spending on each of your goals. And this is a really challenging process, time tracking, especially in the beginning, because you're going to realize how much time you waste on things that you didn't realize you were wasting time on, or how much of your time isn't being spent on your goals and the things that are really going to drive your business, but are being spent on other miscellaneous types of things. So, really tracking your time is really important. So, you want to, on Monday mornings, or some people do it on Sunday nights, you want to check in on the time spent during the last week and really have a scorecard. So, how much time did I spend on each of these goals? And you'll realize very quickly that you're probably spending time on things that aren't connected to your goals. And then you have the opportunity to say, okay, how can I reorganize my time so that I can be more efficient and focused on the things that I know I want to work on and that are really going to grow my business. The second thing you want to do in that Monday morning meeting with yourself is to plan out the week. And what you want to do is you want to time block your calendar. So you want to time block to ensure that you are focused on the right activities and the right tactics for that week. I can't tell you how much time blocking changed the way that I do business. And I actually have 2 time blocks on my calendar every single week just to kind of sit, think things through, work on my marketing. So Monday mornings, I have the entire morning blocked off on my calendar. So I don't do any meetings. And I do exactly this. I check in with the time spent last week on my goals. I re-look at my goals. What are the tactics I need to do? Do I have things on my calendar this week and the next week that support that? If not, how do I change my existing calendar to make sure that I'm blocked to do all of the things that I said I wanted to do, right? That I know that are going to change my business. So I block off all of Monday morning to do that. And then I also block off Friday mornings, and that is my marketing time. So that is my, time that I spend to do things like record a podcast, write emails, plan out upcoming offers, those types of things. But if I didn't have those blocks on my calendar and I was like, oh, let me try to get a social media post going whenever I think about it, forget it. Like, it's not going to happen because you're going to use that time. I will just doom scroll. I will just sit and I'll scroll on because I just need a minute to tune out. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit and how you plan for time to kind of zone out. You plan for time you're going to work, and you plan for time to relax as well. So then every single day I check my day, and I start my day with reading over my goals, looking at my calendar, again, making sure that it's aligned with my goals. If there's any breaks in my calendar, which there shouldn't be because I've filled up my calendar on Monday with all the tactics that I need to do. But just if something had changed, I might take up a space to work on one of my goals. And this is one of my favorite quotes from the book. It says, time is the most squandered of all personal resources. Time is the most squandered of all personal resources. And that's by the author of the book, The 12-Week Year, Brian Moran. And man, it's so true, right? How many times do we look back at our day and we're like, what the heck did I even do today? And I find that I struggle with that. And especially if I go through phases where I am being a little less diligent about this 12-week year process, and I haven't time block and I don't know what I'm working on every hour, I'll just kind of get lost in whatever's happening, or, this project, or I'll start reading an article or something like that. And so for me, if I don't want to squander my time because we have such limited time in our lives. If I don't want to squander that time and I really want to focus on building a business that meets my goal and my vision for what I'm here to do in the world, I want to make sure that time isn't squandered. And so for me, I really want to figure out ways that I can optimize that time without feeling overwhelmed or burdened. There's a great quote by Benjamin Franklin, and he said, "If we take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves." And that's the same idea of, if we understand what we're doing with our minutes, at the end of the year, we're going to realize what we've accomplished. And I think one of the ways that we've traditionally done planning, at least the way I traditionally did planning, was we look at the year instead of the minutes. And so the whole idea behind this 12-week year methodology is you can break things down into smaller chunks of time. So now you're looking at the minutes or the weeks, and instead of the overall year, because the year will take care of itself if you are able to break it down into smaller chunks of what goals you want to accomplish. So the next thing is time blocking. I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to talk about it a little bit more. In the 12-week year, they talk about 3 different types of time blocking. And again, this book has a ton of amazing things in it, but this is one that I really wanted to dive into a little bit more. So there's 3 types of time blocks. So the first one is a strategic block. And this is what I was telling you guys about earlier, where I actually will block off my Monday morning for planning, and I block off my Friday morning for marketing. And these are 3 blocks of deep concentration that you block off at least once a week to really work on whatever your goals are. And these are the ones where you do those high value activities, because it's very difficult. Like, think about this podcast. If I hadn't really cleared my calendar, sat down, read back through the book, thought about how I've done my goals in the past, thought about how I wanted to construct this podcast for you, and I tried to do this in like the 15 minutes in between this or that or this, I would never get it done. I just wouldn't. It would never happen. I'd be completely stressed out. It would be, the end product would not be very good. And so having these strategic blocks in your schedule are incredibly important. The next type of time block is what's called a buffer block. And this is 30 to 60 minutes a day to deal with all the crap that comes up during the day, right? We all have stuff that comes up. You need to set a doctor's appointment for your kid because he thinks he has a cavity, or, you have to do a return to Amazon, or a client called and they, need help with something outside of maybe your normal meeting times, whatever that is. So having a time to deal with crap thing on your calendar is incredibly important. And I give you permission to call it time to deal with crap on your calendar. I think that would be hysterical. Have just an hour every single day where you do that, right? Where you've got 30 to 60 minutes, because when those things come up, we have this sense that we have to handle them immediately, and we really don't. You can put it off until later on in the afternoon, because you're going to know that you have a block of time where you can deal with it. The third type of time block is what we call breakout blocks, or what they call in the book breakout blocks. And these are 3+ hours of free time where you're doing no work. And for me, I'm really working on not even being on social media during these times, trying not to be on any kind of electronics during these times, because you really need to give your brain a time to rest. If you want to continue to be creative and grow your business by being innovative, which we all need to continue to innovate, you have to take time to rest. And I suck at this. I fully admit it. I am not great at this. I sort of have to force myself to do it. But I promise you, when I do, I always come back refreshed. And this doesn't have to be like I got on a plane and I went to Hawaii. It could just be I'm going to take a 3-hour walk right around the block, or I'm going to go, walk around Target, or I'm going to go to the movies or something like that. But taking those breaks is essential. So, if you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see this is actually a copy of one of my goal sheets from earlier this year. And you can see, or you may not see, so I'll just tell you, there are 4 different goals. And under each of those goals, I have 3 to 4 different tactics of exactly what I can do in order to achieve that goal. And this is just an example of the way that I organize this for myself in my business. If you search on Google for like 12-week year, planning resources, there's a gazillion different ones. Actually, the authors of the 12-week year have their own that you can download. So this is just one example of how you can do this. But one of the biggest things that I recommend is once you have that written down, 1, have it written down. 2, I like everything looking really pretty. So I always put it in like a really nice Canva template. I've got it branded in my colors. I'm a little extra. But then I also will print it out and I actually put it on my monitor, right? So it's in front of me all the time. I've seen people who will take their goals and make them their screen saver on their phone. There's a lot, or on your desktop. I've done that as well. But you want to have it in a place where it's visible so you can look at it every single day and say, okay, where am I when it comes to my goals? Because again, what we want to prevent is this idea of, oh, well, it's January. I've got goals, but they don't have to be done till December, so I don't have to look at it again till October. We want to be in the habit of looking at your goals every single day and making sure that your time is blocked so that you're achieving those goals. Here's the biggest challenge for most of my clients and for me, which is we generate all types of great ideas all the time. What do you do with those ideas? Because you get a great idea and you get super excited about it. And you're like, yes, I'm going to go and I'm going to do all the research and I'm going to figure out what to do. And starting a new project is exciting, right? Starting a new type of content, starting a new podcast or whatever it might be, or I'm going to do a new offer, or I'm going to go to a whole new audience and start selling them my product. When those ideas come up under this method, you put it on a list for next quarter, and then you stop thinking about it. This is excruciatingly hard for many highly creative entrepreneurs. I'm going to say that again. When you have a new idea, I want you to put it on a list for next quarter. And sometimes in my sheet with my goals, I'll have a little like for next quarter link, box where I can write things down, or I'll just put it on the back of the piece of paper. But when I have an idea, I put it on a list for next quarter, and then I'm not allowed to think about it again until I do my goals for next quarter. Because what often happens is by the end of the quarter, I have a lot of ideas. Many of them I realize aren't necessarily the best ideas because I've had a moment to sit on them. Also, it has allowed me the time to focus on what I said I was going to do this quarter. I think one of the biggest epidemics within the entrepreneur world is this idea of always creating something new. And yes, you have to innovate, but you also have to have consistency and audience building. And that often means you set a product and you set a differentiation and you just work that over and over and over and over again in that rinse and repeat kind of methodology. It's not always about coming up with something new. And if you do, great, do it next quarter, because otherwise you will get massively distracted from what you're doing this quarter. And you'll find that over time, you end up getting nothing done and you end up never getting any projects that really take traction. And if you go back to what I was talking about earlier in this podcast, that's why I always have at least one goal that is growing something that I have already launched in the past. Then a goal of, creating something new, and then a goal of just like the products that are bringing me the most money and staying on top of those. And that gives me a good balance of offering new things, but also making sure that I'm heavily focused on the things that are making me money. Okay, here's a summary of what I just talked about. So if you don't listen to anything else in this podcast, catch this part. All right. The first thing you want to do is to set 3 or 4 SMART goals every quarter. And a quarter is 12 weeks or 3 months. 2, you want to track and keep score of your time. 3, block your calendar to focus on your specific goals. And 4, keep those goals visible and check them daily. I promise you doing this it's a real shift in the way that you manage your time, but it has been so valuable to me as an entrepreneur. And I promise you're going to love it, especially if you're somebody like me with a million ideas and you get super scattered. If you need some help with this, you're like, I'm not really sure what my quarterly goals should be. I'm happy to meet with you. I offer one-time sessions. There's 90-minute sessions. We could do that every quarter or just one time to get you started. But I do this with a lot of my clients who've kind of graduated from my programs, where they meet with me once a quarter and we go through and set up these goals for them. And so if you're watching on YouTube, there's a QR code on the screen. Otherwise, you can go to sherrysutton.com and book one of those sessions with me. And I'm so excited to share this methodology with you. Again, it has massively changed my business for the better, and I hope it will for you too. Any questions, give me a holler. You can find me on my website. You can email me at sherry@sherrysutton.com or sherry@sherrysutton.com. You can find me on all the social places as Sherry Sutton, your marketing mentor. And I hope that this was incredibly valuable for you. And that's a wrap of today's episode of Your Marketing Mentor. I hope you found some valuable insights and feel inspired to take action in your business. Remember, you have the power to create a purposeful and profitable business. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Your feedback helps me create content that truly serves you. And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends and fellow entrepreneurs. Let's spread the love and help more mission-driven businesses thrive. Stay connected to me on social media and visit my website for more resources, tips, and support. I'm here to walk alongside you every step of the way. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep shining and keep growing.